Have you ever heard the saying, breakfast is the most important meal of the day? That's true, but only when you do it right. Worryingly, many people, especially after age 60, start their days in ways that seem harmless, yet are secretly raising their blood pressure each morning without even realizing it. Margaret, a 72-year-old from Garden Grove, California, always maintained a regular breakfast routine. A salted egg, a cup of strong coffee, a few small pastries. She called this her simple morning joy. But then one morning she felt dizzy just as she stood up from the table. Taken to the hospital, her doctor said her blood pressure had spiked suddenly, and that very simple breakfast turned out to be the cause. You see, high blood pressure doesn't just come from salt at dinner or stress from work. It can begin with the smallest things: a salty pickle, coffee on an empty stomach, or a breakfast loaded with refined sugar. These things, when repeated daily, are the very kindling for a heart that has weakened with time. According to cardiologist Dr. David Cohen from UCLA, older adults with high blood pressure must be especially cautious with how they begin their day. Because morning is when the heart rate quickens, stress hormones are released more, and just one dietary mistake is enough to push blood pressure past a dangerous threshold. This isn't meant to scare you, but to help you realize there are small habits you can change, and in doing so significantly reduce your risk of stroke, heart attack, or sudden dizziness after breakfast. In today's video, we're going to dive deep into 3 breakfast habits that seem harmless, but are silent killers for anyone dealing with blood pressure issues. You'll not only understand why they're dangerous, but also learn simple, safe adjustments that still keep the joy in your daily morning meal. If you're on a journey to care for your heart each morning, stick with us until the end. And if you think this topic is important for your loved ones, feel free to share. For now, let's get started. Habit 1. Eating salty foods in the morning like pickles or salted eggs. When you start your morning with a plate of rice with a salted egg or some pickles, does that feel like a simple, familiar breakfast? Many older adults who live through harder times often maintain this habit out of nostalgia. But few realize that these salty dishes are the silent triggers that make blood pressure soar right from the start of the day. After age 60, your body no longer regulates salt and water as effectively as it once did. The kidneys work slower and blood vessels become less elastic. When you consume a large amount of salt in the morning, the pressure inside your arteries increases rapidly. This explains why many people feel dizzy, have a racing heart, or even experience headaches just minutes after breakfast. Imagine your blood pressure is a faucet. In the morning, that faucet is opening gradually with your natural biological rhythm. But when you eat something very salty, like a salted egg or flavorful pickles, it's like you crank that faucet wide open in an instant. The pressure skyrockets, forcing your heart to work harder, which is especially dangerous if you already have a history of hypertension, heart disease, or diabetes. A geriatrician in Houston once shared the case of Mr. Bill, 75, who was hospitalized after a severe morning headache. His blood pressure upon arrival was 190/110. After investigation, there were no unusual signs, except for his breakfast of 2 salted egg yolks and a few pieces of Korean kimchi, which he loved for its bold, savory flavor. It turned out that seemingly normal breakfast contained over 2,000 milligrams of sodium, nearly the entire daily salt allowance for someone with hypertension. You don't need to completely give up familiar, salty foods, but you do need to know how to eat them safely. If you really want a little salted egg or some pickles, have them with plain congee without adding soy sauce. And most importantly, eat only a very small amount, just enough to remember the flavor, not as a main dish. Instead of starting the day with a salty kick, try a gentler breakfast. Unsalted oatmeal, a few slices of fresh avocado, or a simple boiled egg. Your heart will thank you for it. And if you still want to enjoy a savory treat, save it for lunch when your blood pressure is more stable and your body is better prepared to handle it safely. A small change in the morning, but a big step in the journey to protect your heart every day. Habit 2, drinking strong coffee before you have eaten anything. Perhaps you are like millions of others. You wake up, and before eating anything, you rush to brew a strong cup of coffee to awaken your body. This habit sounds harmless, even viewed as a great way to start the day alert. But if you are living with high blood pressure, drinking coffee on an empty stomach can be a dangerous stimulant for your cardiovascular system. After a long night without food, your body is in its most sensitive state. Blood pressure tends to be higher due to the morning rise in stress hormones, and your heart rate begins to accelerate to prepare for the day's activities. When you pour coffee into that mix, especially strong black coffee, the caffeine is rapidly absorbed into the bloodstream, causing blood vessels to constrict and raising blood pressure even higher within just 30 minutes. Daniel, 68, recalled feeling palpitations and a racing heart every morning after his coffee. At first, he thought it was due to anxiety or poor sleep, but after checking his blood pressure at home, he discovered it consistently spiked significantly after his morning coffee. His doctor explained that when drinking coffee on an empty stomach, his body had no buffer to absorb the caffeine gradually, leading to a stronger, faster, and more prolonged reaction. Many studies have shown that caffeine can raise blood pressure by 5 to 10 mmHg in sensitive individuals, especially older adults or those with existing heart conditions. Not only that, but strong coffee before food can also irritate the stomach, leading to heartburn and discomfort. And all of this is an unnecessary burden for a body that needs a gentle start. What we need to do is very simple. Eat something first. A slice of whole wheat toast, a small banana, or a few avocado slices. Such simple things are enough to create a lining that slows caffeine absorption, making your body's response gentler. Additionally, consider brewing your coffee weaker or switching to decaf a few days a week if you notice an irregular heartbeat. A morning coffee habit isn't a bad thing, but how you drink it and when you drink it, those are the factors that determine its effect on your blood pressure. Let your cup of coffee be a companion, not something that makes your heart work harder every day. And if you're wondering why you often feel anxious, jittery, or restless in the morning, perhaps that cup of coffee is the answer. If you're still watching and finding these tips helpful, let me know by dropping a 2 in the comments below. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I'd encourage you to hit that follow button and ring the bell so you don't miss new videos. Your support helps us continue creating more helpful and inspiring content. Habit 3. Eating sugary pastries or cereals that spike your blood sugar. On a pleasant morning, you sit down to a sweet muffin, perhaps with a glass of sweetened milk or a colorful bowl of cereal. This meal seems light, easy to eat, and is even marketed as energy-rich. But for someone living with high blood pressure, especially with a history of diabetes or high cholesterol, this is a recipe for a blood sugar spike that puts your heart on high alert early in the day. When you consume a large amount of sugar in the morning, your body immediately reacts by releasing insulin to regulate blood sugar. But in older adults, this regulatory function is often impaired. The result is a rapid rise, then a rapid fall in blood sugar, creating fatigue, shakiness, and a new cycle of cravings soon after. Worse, this blood sugar fluctuation acts as a trigger that causes blood pressure to fluctuate along with it, creating physiological stress for the cardiovascular system. Linda, 70, used to think eating healthy cereal each morning was a good thing, but the brand she chose contained nearly 18 grams of sugar per serving, equivalent to almost 4 teaspoons. Not long after eating, she often felt her heart racing, her face flush, and a sense of restlessness. When her doctor asked her to log her breakfast, it became clear the hidden sugar in her senior-friendly cereal was the culprit. Research shows that people who regularly eat high-sugar breakfasts have a higher risk of developing metabolic syndrome, a cluster of issues including high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and unstable blood sugar. This not only affects daily well-being, but also significantly increases the long-term risk of stroke and cardiovascular disease. Instead of choosing sweet pastries, white bread, or brightly colored cereals, you could try a bowl of slow-cooked oatmeal without added sugar, served with fresh fruit like blueberries or a ripe banana. These options have a low glycemic index, helping to release energy more steadily and avoiding that post-meal spike and crash. Another small tip is to always check the nutrition label on packaged foods, especially the total sugars and added sugars sections. Many convenient breakfast cereals or bars, though small, contain nearly a full day's recommended sugar intake for an older adult. The morning shouldn't start with the roller coaster of blood sugar. That's not a gentle way to start in aging hard. Let your breakfast be a foundation, not a lever that pushes your blood pressure higher. Just by switching to natural sweetness, you are choosing a kinder path for your heart each day. We've just explored three seemingly harmless breakfast habits: eating salty foods, drinking coffee on an empty stomach, and consuming too much sugar, that are secretly raising your blood pressure every morning. These habits not only leave you feeling tired or dizzy, but also silently damage your heart and blood vessels and increase the risk of stroke, especially in older adults. The good news is, it's never too late to make a change. High blood pressure doesn't force you to live in anxiety. It is simply reminding you to live a little differently, starting with breakfast. Small adjustments like eating less salt, having coffee after a light snack, and reducing refined sugar can make a huge difference for your heart health for years to come. Ask yourself, what did you eat this morning? Have you been repeating the same familiar choices without thinking? Maybe you think, I've eaten this way my whole life and been fine. But the body after 60 no longer responds like it did at 40 or 50. Realizing that is the first step toward change. Change doesn't have to be complicated. You don't need to give up coffee or completely abandon your favorite foods. You just need to know the timing, the amount, and the right combination are what matter. A boiled egg instead of a salted one, a cup of coffee after a light meal, a bowl of oatmeal instead of a pastry. These are gentle, sustainable choices. If you're wondering where to start, just pick one small change for tomorrow's breakfast. Feel how your body responds. You might feel lighter, your heart might beat more steadily, and your mind might feel more alert without relying on sugar or caffeine. Thank you for spending your time with me today. If this content has helped you realize something valuable, please share it with a loved one. Because you never know, a proper breakfast might just save a heart that is quietly growing tired. And if you want to continue your journey of proactive and gentle self-care, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next share. I'll see you in the next video. Wishing you a peaceful morning and a heart that is always at peace.